Hey, welcome to Jeremy Snell's recruitment training. If you're looking to deepen your capabilities, if you're seeking to improve your productivity and your performance, this is the channel for you. In every episode, I will unpack practical and tactical things that you can do to help you to think with greater clarity, make better decisions, and ultimately make more money. Feel free to subscribe, feel free to like and to comment. And now let's get on with today's topic. Hey, the promise of this episode is I'm going to share with you 3 things that fundamentally will make the biggest difference to the quality of your sales outreach. As a professional L&D person, as somebody who has spent the majority of my life working in the recruitment industry, something that I've seen over the course of the last 10 years is the gradual erosion of sales capability in our industry. There are now noises out there that recruitment is now a marketing job and no longer a sales job. I don't buy into that. Recruitment is always going to revolve around the quality of your business development. And a component of that is marketing, and a component of that is sales. And part of it is how you interrupt busy people to share with them a message, where the message itself could help them to identify the solution to a problem. A problem that they could have been chewing on at that moment, or a problem that perhaps they've had in the past. Or maybe even a problem that they hadn't realized was a contributory component to the frustrations that they have today. Ultimately, people, sales is a force for good. One of the primary reasons that 51% of the salespeople on the planet are behind target today is they can't sell. The pictures that they draw in their head as to what good selling is fundamentally is broken. And there are people who work in recruitment who don't identify as being salespeople because they reject the images that they draw in their head as to what it means to be a salesperson. Fundamentally, these pictures are broken. Sales is a good thing. Sales is taking a message to an audience to help them to be able to recognize small changes that they could make to have a profound impact on the quality of their results. And in a noisy world and in a busy world, it's important that we are proud of what we do so that we can stand out from the noise, so that we can be seen. It's surprising how many people prefer the idea of being rejected on email than they do being rejected on the phone. In fact, some people now use email as a channel to seek permission to have a conversation, and therefore reduce the number of people that they end up engaged with, because of their chosen method of outreach actually stops them from being able to get in front of those they could probably help the most. So when we look at these 3 things, each of these 3 things is a contributory component. Each of them feeds the next. If you can't do the first, the second becomes more challenging. And if you can't do the first and the second, then it's even more difficult to be able to do the third. And these are appropriate for those of you who do perm, those of you who do retained, those of you who do temp, those of you who do contract, those of you who do interim, those of you who are selling recruitment as a service. Because we're talking about the interaction between a human and a human. And when humans interact with humans, good stuff happens compared to when job titles start chasing job titles. So when we look at the 3 components, I'd recommend you create a Kanban board. What are the things that you could be doing in each of these 3 sections that would have the most profound impact on your results? Because like I said, sales skills have been eroding in our industry. It is now time for us to bring them back front and center, because they're going to help us to be able to stand out from all of the slop and all of the noise and all of the nonsense that revolves around automations and AI-driven routines that fundamentally are being used to replace the human interaction that creates the engagement required to start to get someone to think more deeply about, is this of value? So when we look at the 3, the first one on my list, it's attention. We find ourselves in a world where we are bombarded every day with over 500 messages trying to get our attention. The posters and the billboards that we drive past, the alerts that we get on our phone, the things that are in our peripheral vision when we're on LinkedIn or on social media channels, the inbox that we have. The typical business person now receives over 240 unsolicited emails every single day. There's a lot of noise, people. Being able to get somebody's attention in a noisy world requires you to be willing to stand out, to do something different. Because when you can get somebody's attention and you can hold their attention, you now have an opportunity to create influence. So when we look at what creates attention, getting somebody's attention requires being different. When you do something different, people can't help but notice it. So you need to be willing to be different to get people's attention. If you try to be the same as everybody else, which is sending emails, waiting for responses, sending low-level messages on LinkedIn, hoping to be able to get their attention for that 14-minute session that they log into once per month on LinkedIn, you're letting yourself down. You're not being different by doing the same as everybody else. And if you take comfort in hiding in the noise, and you don't step forward to do something which captures their attention through differentiation, you're not going to embrace the idea of voice notes. You'll sell to yourself all of the reasons why voice notes, you don't like them, so nobody else likes them. You won't embrace the idea of video. You'll start to sell to yourself the idea that video is something that other recruiters do, but it's not fit for your marketplace because of the level of individual that you operate with. And you get better at selling to yourself why you shouldn't, rather than starting to understand why you could. And if you could, then maybe you should. And if you could and you should, then maybe you will. So differentiation, disruption, mystery, the adoption of good quality visuals, the reward that you can provide for people when they look at the risk to reward in terms of consuming a message, in terms of paying attention to what you're doing. Attention is the currency for the beginning of a sales process. And you know today, one of the best ways to be able to get somebody's attention? Make this ring. Pick up the phone. Call them. And if you're worried about being rejected, if you're worried about interrupting them, you're worried about capturing their attention. It's like people worry about sending a video to somebody because, oh God, what if they watch it? That's the idea, people. People worry about the voice note because what if they judge me for it? That is the idea, people. And then people worry about being too consistent, of being too persistent, of being too tenacious. Oh, but I've done 3 things this month to get their attention. What if they notice me? That is the idea, people. And if you're ever accused by a prospect of being too persistent, take it as a compliment, my friends. It's a genuine compliment. Because who do they actually want to have out there in the marketplace seeking to capture the attention of the very candidates that could help them to deliver their projects? If you recoil at being accused of being persistent, unfortunately, you're starting to admit to the fact that I'm not valuable. What I'm doing isn't of use. I'm sorry to have been so persistent should not be language that comes out of your mouth. It should be, I'm glad I got you. And if somebody says, you're very persistent, aren't you? I've had a couple of emails from you on a voicemail message. Yes, I am, because I don't want to let you down. You know? There could be 10,000 people that you could call today. This is the person who somewhere you decided, I pick you because. And because you chose them for reasons for them rather than reasons for you, we go on a mission to get their attention. We want them to feel like this is going to be of value. If you're not willing to do the work to get somebody's attention, and there are so many people who I talk to who say, oh, I got this lead and I haven't been able to get hold of them. And I ask them, what have you done? Oh, well, I dropped them an email and they didn't come back to me. So I gave it a few days and then I dropped them another email and they didn't come back to me. So then I tried the phone, but I couldn't get through to them. So I just left it. And now that I've done that, I've run out of ideas. And they're worrying about getting the person's attention by doing a fourth thing or a fifth thing or a sixth thing or a seventh thing. When salespeople worry about, what if I get their attention? It stops them from doing the consistency of the work that is all about attention capture. So I hope everyone's with me in how I'm describing this, right? Probably half of your competitors are choosing to stop doing outreach to get the attention of a prospect because they're now starting to worry about being noticed, about being seen, about being persistent. And then there are others who are happy to be a little more persistent. However, it looks like email and email and email, and they're doing the same thing as everybody else. They're sending emails to people with subject lines like, congrats on the new role. And you think about the person who's just been promoted, the person who's just landed that job as a director of a company, 97% of the sales messages that they'll get will be congrats on the new role. You just blend in. You just become part of the noise. You become part of the slop. And the nice thing is, they don't notice it at all. And you think that you've done one thing, and so far they haven't paid attention to anything that you've done because it is lift music. Muzak is what I think that they call it. So step up, people. Be proud of what you do. Be insistent. Be persistent. Be tenacious. Be different. Be disruptive. Chuck a bit of mystery into it. You know, there are people in recruitment who scoff. They scoff at those recruiters who turn up at the reception of a company and leave behind like a bag of goodies. And they go, God, that's so like 1980, and that's so like low-level sales. Do you know what it does? It gets attention. Attention is the beginning, people. I'm not suggesting that everyone should now get a box of donuts and start to leave them at reception. What I am suggesting is don't scoff at other people's strategies that work whilst you're still sat on the throne of agony, struggling to be able to get the attention of any of the leads or any of the clients that you want to do business with because you're being too low grade in terms of your willingness to do what it takes to get their attention. So step up, people. Do the right thing. Because once you've had somebody's attention, the second thing on the list is dwell time. Getting people to dwell on things. You know, a really low-level sales call could be an interruption to somebody's busy day, and the words that come out of the interrupter's mouth. Oh, hi, is that Bill? Bill, hi, it's just Jeremy calling, popping in a quick call to see how things are going. You're currently recruiting, or no? Oh, okay, sure, I'll call you in a month. And they're gone before it's begun. The interaction was less than 60 seconds. The person didn't have to disengage from anything that they were doing to deal with it. And there are people out there who I know I wind up when I say this because they train it as being a good idea. I'm telling you it's not. It's not a good idea to interrupt someone who's busy to say just, quick, and only. And I appreciate that those people who train say just, say quick, say only. Like, let's make it feel as though it's going to be quick. Let's make it feel as though it'll be over in a moment. They're creating a transaction for a conversation that could last less than 60 seconds. That 60 seconds later, if somebody asked them, who was that who phoned you? Who just phoned me? I was a recruiter. What was their name? Don't know. Which agency? Don't know. What did they want? Oh, just to see if we were hiring, I think. I'm not really sure. But it was over before it began. Dwell time. Dwell time is where you ask intelligent questions. Dwell time is where you share something of value. Dwell time is where you show your usefulness so that the person invests the time to talk to you with undivided attention because you are forcing them with intelligent questions to be present. And because of that, they're thinking. And as they're thinking about things, they're like, hey, that's a good question. I hadn't really thought about it like that. Hey, that's an interesting bit of data. Hey, that's an interesting perspective. That's a useful insight. Oh, I hadn't realised you worked with businesses like that. Are they really finding that that's a good way to be able to do things? Suddenly the conversation, when they go, yeah, goodbye. It sits with them for longer. And when it sits with them for longer and there is more dwell time, You're now living in their head after the conversation. It's why collateral that we can share with clients proves to be of real value to them if it makes them sit down and read it, you know? And I'm not suggesting that everyone needs to send them the equivalent of the Recruitment War and Peace. Think about what you can share with people that is designed to increase dwell time. I go back to those recruiters who use a strategy of turning up in receptions and leaving things, right? If I say, here's something to eat and here is something to read. Dwell time, people. Attention, dwell time. It doesn't win the business. We need to do the third thing in the list. But attention and then dwell time. If I put in a quick phone call and that's it, hey, quick call, see how things are going, find out if you're currently recruiting, and I do that terrible, lazy, or ending to a question, I'm toast. I'm done. Compared to if I share something that I feel could be of value. Hey, Keith, I'm glad I got you, because there's something I know you'd be interested in hearing about, and I share something with value. I then ask some questions. I help them to self-challenge with my questions to create more dwell time. Because when people review on things, when people reflect on things, when people consider with more thought, it's the thoughtfulness that creates memorability. Some of you need to get over the fact that you are very forgettable and start to think about, how do I become more memorable? What could I be doing in my conversations to create more dwell time? This is why face-to-face meetings will have a longer shadow in terms of your memorability compared to phone calls, compared to emails, compared to LinkedIn messages. But you can send a high dwell LinkedIn message, you can send a high dwell video, because when you do something that captures attention and it starts to demonstrate something to challenge the other person, they're going to think about it. So that when we get to the third thing, which is the development of trust, if we have your attention, if we create dwell time, and we then build trust in your people engine, I share as being a 10-step process, 10 weapons to build trust with prospects across 5 key platforms, 5 levels of trust. Most recruiters are stuck at level 2 and have no idea that even level 3 or level 4 or level 5s exist, because they believe that trust is either there or not. And because I am aware of the fact the client is willing to give me jobs and looks at CVs and interviews candidates, therefore trust exists, I am trustworthy and the trust bit is done. There is so much further we could take that, right? And when we look at trust and we look at where it comes from, trust comes from the quality of your authority. Trust is contextual. And because trust is contextual and you become an authority in your domain, when somebody has a challenge, they should think about you as being the solution. I have this challenge. Who is the domain authority that I know in this space? I can picture them because they have caught my attention enough times and created enough dwell opportunity that I now think of them. Top of mind, tip of tongue. Authority. Well, there is benevolence, our willingness to share, our willingness to give, our willingness to provide explanations and insights to help people to be able to hire better, whether they choose to work with us or not. Or there is the level of capability that we demonstrate. Case studies are one of the most powerful assets that you can have for mid-phase sales activity. Yet every time I talk to a consultant, when we are investing in a program to develop their sales results, less than 10% of them have case studies. And less than 10% of the 10% have created a carousel, a portfolio of different case studies that they can start to use in their communication. Because they're stuck in brochureware, stuck talking about their business, their history, their success metrics, and they have 0 stories to share with their prospects about the journeys that their own customers have been on. So when we look at trust Trust is the currency to help you to be able to win business. Trust is contextual to what you want to be most trusted for in the domain that you operate in. And you can only build trust if you create enough dwell time. You can only create dwell time if you capture people's attention. And you can only capture people's attention if you are willing to do the work. Ever since hard work has existed, people have tried to avoid it. And right now, people are trying to AI and automate their way out of doing the work. It's not working for people. It takes a human to interrupt a human, to be able to capture their attention, to create the differentiation or the disruption or the mystery or the visuals that are required to help them to be able to stop. And then when they stop, creating enough dwell time to be remembered. And as we use the dwell time, we use the dwell time to top up the trust. 3-step process, people. Capture their attention, increase dwell time, build trust. It's why when we do candidate outreach or client outreach, it can take 5 to 10 pieces of outreach to hold their attention for increasing amounts of time, that as the dwell time increases, the opportunities to slow down and to consider the trust starts to also be influenced in our favour. So folks, think about the 3, think about building your Kanban board, think about how you could start to do this with a little bit more consistency. And I promise you, without becoming a more skilled salesperson, you'll become a more consistent developer of relationships that turn into money. Hey, thank you for watching. If you want to continue to get access to more high quality training and coaching ideas to help you to stay inspired as a recruiter, make sure that you like, make sure that you subscribe, and check out the description below for relevant links to tools, frameworks, and other ideas to keep you moving forward. And I look forward to seeing you on another one very soon.